Welcome to the latest webcast in Caring.com's Digital Marketing Academy. Our session today is focused on helping home care agencies crack the code for attracting and converting prospective clients to grow the business. I'm Denise Grob, a marketing director here at Caring.com for the past 9 years. Every day, I help our directory partners manage and optimize their online reputation and achieve the most return on investment from digital marketing. I'm joined today by Amy Sully, Shelley Womble, and Marissa Snook of corecubed Marketing Agency. They will be our featured presenters, and I will tell you more about each of them in just a moment. Let me get us moving here. Before we dive into the presentation, I wanted to let you know this is a one-way webinar where only the presenters speak, but we do want your engagement. We do want you to ask questions. There is a box in the upper right of your screen where you can enter your questions. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentation, and if we don't get to your question, we will be sure to follow up with you afterwards. A very common question we get is, will the slides and presentation be available afterward? The answer is a resounding yes. They will be available for you, and the questions are asked anonymously. Okay, so this is a free webinar. The price of admission is a brief commercial about the sponsor, Caring.com. For those of you who are getting to know us, and as a refresher for our partners, our organization was founded by caregivers for caregivers. Our flagship website, Caring.com, was created and launched in 2007 to equip family caregivers to make better decisions, save time and money, and feel less alone and less stressed in providing senior care to their loved ones. Today, millions of people come to our website to research and get referred to senior living communities and home care agencies. In fact, we have one of the most comprehensive senior care directories on the web, and we are the #1 source of senior care reviews online, with more than 250,000 posted today and thousands added every month. In 2018, some of you may recall, we were acquired by Caring Holdings, a group of investors with over 15 years of digital marketing expertise. The transaction has enabled us to continue to expand our services for family caregivers and older adults and enhance our competitive position in the marketplace while supporting our partners. We have some excellent presenters here today, 3 fantastic experts, and I'll give you a bit of info about each. Let's start with Amy Sully. She's corecube's co-managing director, and she acts as a strategic marketing partner to corecube's home care agency clients. As you see in the professional background showcased here, she has nearly 20 years of experience in the senior care space and is an award-winning marketer. Amy believes that in a competitive market where all businesses have services to sell, it is a company's brand and the ways it communicates with its constituents that set it apart from the pack. She'll be sharing specific tips on that subject in a few moments. Shelley Womble is also presenting. She's corecube's home care sales and operations coach, and she possesses an incredibly in-depth understanding of the home care industry from top to bottom and all the little nuances in between, including on the consumer side. Shelley has over 25 years of multi-state experience in the aging care arena and has worked her way through a variety of sales management positions, from district regional manager of a single unit agency to director of operations and general manager for 50 branch locations in 11 states for a large franchise, and most notably as a national sales director. Like Amy, Shelley's work is award-winning, and she's excited to be helping home care agencies across the country bolster their sales teams and get the results they want. Joining Amy and Shelley in presenting today is Marissa Snook. She's also a managing director at corecubed. She's been working in public relations and marketing for over 15 years with a focus on in-home care since 2005. She too is an award-winning marketer and an expert at juggling multiple tasks simultaneously and thinking strategically. With her background in theater and directing for the stage, Marissa excels at getting into the mindset of a particular target audience and understanding the best ways to reach them. This is what these experts are going to discuss today. They'll start with explaining market differentiation, sales strategy, and best practices for your online presence. They're also going to include starting points, ideal strategies, and specific examples for growth creation. And as I mentioned, we'll do a Q&A at the end, but go ahead and ask questions anytime during the session. When the presentation is over, we're also going to give you the chance to rate this webinar via an online prompt or a follow-up email, whichever is convenient for you. We do want you to share your feedback. We also welcome your emails and calls afterwards. And please stick around for after the Q&A. We have a special offer you're not going to want to miss. Okay, now without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton to Shelley.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see or talk to everyone this afternoon. So as Denise mentioned, we're going to be talking today a little bit about some of the expertise and some of the services we provide and tell you a little bit about what we know works in terms of cracking the code and growing your agency. So achieving growth is really a multifaceted approach, and it's very important that everyone kind of think about the different elements that you're going to need in order to grow your agency. So today we're going to talk about 3 elements that we feel are critical, mission critical to growing your agency. One is differentiating yourself in your market with your consumers and your referral sources, and even those that you're looking to put to work. And the second component is developing and executing a very solid strategic written sales plan. And then finally, we're going to talk about creating a strong online presence, which we feel to be critical in terms of growing your business. So one thing we want to have you guys keep in mind as we're going through the presentation today, we want you to think about where your agency is in its growth life cycle. So we want to talk about, some of you may be in a launch stage, which means your agency is relatively new, and maybe you've opened in the last year and you're just now starting to sort of get in the community and attempt to grow your business. We think the next life cycle is an agency that we call a growth agency, and that would be possibly an agency that's 1 or 2 years old and maybe has 1,000 hours a week, something like that. They got their bearings, they've gotten their launch underway, and now they're starting to see growth. The next phase is maturity, a stage of maturity, which typically are agencies that are 5 years plus, and they've really have a great market share. They've understand their business. They've been operating for multiple years, and maybe they begin to hit a plateau, and then they would go into sort of what we call the renewal stage, which is really mature agencies that are looking to do other services and to be able to grow their business. And so we want you to think about those, where you fit in that in those segments, and how the elements of our presentation today might be a little different angle for the segment you're in.
Okay, this is Amy. Oh, we want to go back 1 slide to market differentiation.
Yep, sorry about that, Amy. There we go.
That's okay. All right, so when we talk about market differentiation, there's more than one audience that we want to consider. You really have to think about how to differentiate your agency for each of these groups. So we have consumers to think about, referral sources, payers, and job seekers. Some of the ways that you differentiate will be similar for each of those audiences, and then some will be very different. So for example, all of these groups will be interested that your agency measures customer satisfaction and can report positive customer satisfaction data. However, referral partners and payers may be less interested in your caregiver satisfaction data, whereas job seekers will be very interested in caregiver satisfaction data, as will consumers. Your goal as an agency is to craft the right differentiation messages for each group, leading with what is most important to that group so that you stand out for each. And in just a few slides, we'll talk about some more specific ways you can differentiate.
This is Marissa, and I wanted to talk about monitoring your competition because it's very important to understand your competitors as much as possible. And a good way to start doing that is just to take a look at their website. What do they do well, and how well do they get their message across? What are they missing from that website, or maybe they don't do well? For example, they might offer specialized dementia care, but not back up that with messaging about what does specialized mean? Do they train their caregivers differently? Do they have a special certification for dementia care? Do they offer any special services to family members? If they're not advertising any of this sort of information and you also have a dementia specialization, then you've got a way to differentiate yourself in your website and your marketing materials. But you really do have to do the research. If you say, we're different because we have nurse oversight, and then 3 of your competitors also have nurse oversight, then it's not a real differentiator.
Okay, this is Amy again. So now we're going to talk about some ways to differentiate. The first thing is developing some brand messages about your company. This is really important, and the kinds of things that it should include are why you started a home care business, why you are passionate about helping people receive care in the home, and elements of your company's care philosophy. An example of a brand message would sound something like this. I used to work in an assisted living facility, and I saw how difficult it was for older adults to leave their own homes and make the transition to living elsewhere. This inspired me to start a home care business so that I could help more people be able to live at home safely for a longer period of time. This kind of messaging helps customers make an emotional connection to your company. It shows that you're passionate about what you do and that there is a why behind what you do that they can connect with so that you make a bond with them right away. An example of part of a care philosophy might sound something like this. At my home care company, we believe that good communication is essential for exemplary care to occur. Because of that, we spend time really listening to our clients and their families to make sure we understand their unique care needs and their preferences. We've also invested in technologies and systems that help us communicate effectively with our clients and our care team. On our website, we offer a care portal that family members can use to tune into their loved one's care process and communicate with our team. Communicating this kind of piece of your care philosophy is important to people because it helps them understand how your company is going to operate and what you prioritize in that care provision process. One of the most important ways to differentiate is through customer and caregiver satisfaction measurement and reporting, like we talked about earlier. So whether you use an independent third party like Home Care Pulse to measure this data, or if you measure it on your own, you can share these outcomes with all of your audiences and use the data to consistently improve your customer experience and your caregiver experience. High caregiver satisfaction scores and low caregiver turnover rates show consumers that your company offers consistency of staff, employees who are reliable, and a company culture that values people. It also shows potential caregivers that yours is a great company to work for, which helps immensely with your recruitment effort. Online reviews are super important. As people search the web for care companies, finding a care company with more positive than negative reviews really stands out. You should be asking your clients and your caregivers to review your company on sites like caring.com, Google, Yelp, Facebook, and others, and then showcase these reviews on your website. Caring.com will even give you a special badge to put on your website to signify to consumers that you have positive online reviews. When someone is inviting a service provider into the home of their loved one, you can be sure they are extremely interested in how you screen and hire the caregivers who work for you. So you should be sure to detail this process on your website. As an example, be sure to talk about requiring and checking references, conducting in-person interviews, how many interviews you require, performing background checks, drug screening, checking driving records, the amount of experience that your agency requires of caregivers, how you do caregiver orientation, and so on. All of this speaks to how carefully and thoroughly you vet the caregivers that you hire for your agency. Similarly, it's also important to talk about how you train your caregiving team. For example, consumers will be more impressed with ongoing training versus one-time training, and they will be more impressed with specialty training that focuses on different client care needs, such as specialized training on how to help those with dementia. And if you use a professional training company like Relias Learning, be sure to mention that and link to their website. Regarding specialty services, if your agency offers any type of specialized care for persons with dementia or other types of chronic conditions, and your team has been trained to provide that care, be sure to include this information in your marketing effort. And likewise, if you have an RN or an LPN on staff who provides management or oversight of your caregivers, or acts as a training resource to your caregivers, be sure to include that information in your differentiation. Consumers can feel more at ease when they know that the caregivers have a clinical resource who offers guidance and support to them. Data on how your agency can help reduce hospitalization is important to your referral partners and to payers. Usually this is most commonly reported by home health agencies, but non-medical home care providers are also starting to report on how they are helping to keep clients out of the hospital. Being part of a group of local senior care providers, your state home care association, or even a national home care association shows that your company is interested in continuously learning best practices. Similarly, affiliation with organizations like the Alzheimer's Association, the American Heart Association, and others like that show that you're interested in supporting the research that these groups do to improve lives. Community involvement. Your clients and their loved ones are part of the community and appreciate your active involvement in supporting the community. You can support the community by acting as a resource for education on aging care and caregiving, and by participating in important community conversations and events. And finally, the technologies that you use. Maybe your company also resells a personal emergency response system. Maybe you use iPads in the care provision process. Maybe you use iPods as a life enrichment activity. Or perhaps, like we talked about earlier, you offer a family care portal on your website where families can check in on care and communicate with your team. So once you should spend some time identifying all the ways that you can differentiate, and like Marissa said, compare that to what your competition is doing in the market.
Okay, thanks, Amy. So it's great to hear about how important it is to differentiate, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about the importance of developing a strategic sales and marketing plan. So what is a sales plan? I define this as a written document that spells out your business goals and how you're going to achieve them for a period of time. And I think a lot of people have goals that they set, but maybe possibly they don't, put them in writing and really execute on some action items related to moving that plan along. So it's important to develop a plan. And one of the basic things that we do when we develop a sales plan is that we have to kind of assess where our agency is now. Maybe we think about first one of those segments I talked about earlier. Where are we in that segmentation? And how have we been able to utilize, how have our sales gone so far? What have we done in a marketing commitment that has moved the barometer for our inquiries to come in? We need to look at our financials, and we need to kind of know sort of what is our market share right now? How much of the market do we really have in that? So there is just one word I wanted to say about sales versus marketing. I think sometimes we use those words interchangeably. You can see on this slide I've actually separated them, and I talk about them separately, because when I'm talking about these things, they're separate elements. Sales means your person, your face in the community. You're going out and you're building referral sources, and you're getting involved in the community, and that is your sales efforts. Also, we have a two-pronged sales effort in private pay, non-medical home care, and that is our inquiry process, our sales process to the consumer. When we're talking about marketing related to building a plan, I'm referring to things like your brand, your collaterals, your use of social media, where you spend advertising dollars, your website, and Marissa's going to talk in a little while about your online presence. So those are marketing initiatives that you need to do, very separate from sales initiatives. Okay, so one example you might have, and the first thing you want to do when you build a plan is you want to have some goals related to what it is you want to do. So an example, a really good example, is you might say, I want to grow my business 30% next year. So to do that, how am I going to grow my business 30%? I need to look at where I am now and what has worked for me, and then I need to set some action items related to sales, marketing, and operations that's going to get me to that goal. So I mentioned earlier about the sales being inquiry sales and referral source sales, and one of the things I wanted to say should be part of everybody's goals in their sales and marketing plan is to really be able to create more inquiries coming into your little branch and then converting them. So those are usually important goals we set into our plan. We say, I currently have 5 referrals a month. I would like to have 20 referrals a month, and I would like to convert 50% of those. And so those might be goals we put in our plan. One of the things I did just want to kind of point out here, as we're looking at inquiries, this might be a good reminder that we should always do follow-up related to our inquiries and have a very solid, spelled out, written follow-up process within our agencies. I visit a lot of clients and do coaching for clients all the time on this process, and I think this is one we sort of take shortcuts with sometimes and don't track the way we should. Just wanted to give you guys sort of an example. I was recently coaching an individual who got an inquiry and handled the inquiry and communicated with them for the first couple of days, and then the inquiry wasn't ready to start care. So they followed up with the inquiry every month. And they finally got the inquiry started 9 months later. It took them 9 months, but they stayed diligent and every month was communicating with these folks. And when they were ready to start, they started. So very important reminder and thinking about how to build sort of some of those goals into your plan. So this written plan should be monitored continually, and you have to stick with it. It's not a silver bullet. There's no silver bullet here in what we're talking about today. All of this takes a lot of time and effort, and it all pays off if it's done and you stick to the plan. So I would say, build the plan at the beginning of the year. at the beginning of your fiscal year, and then review it monthly. And if you're going to tweak it in any way, because you feel like maybe something's not working in the plan, then I would at least do that quarterly or maybe every 6 months but not too often, because you definitely want to give something time to work. And I would say also in regard to that, look at the numbers, watch your numbers. Your numbers will speak to your success rate. So you definitely, I see a lot of people try to follow their gut on these things. And well, I think I can't do this because we're not getting caregivers and my turnover's high. But if you are able to put a plan together and really look at what your numbers are and then put some action items together to sort of improve those numbers, and then you watch that number sort of start to correct itself, that's what we're talking about in terms of the plan and giving it time to work out. So when a sales plan is done right, it has these elements, and so a little bit at the end, we have a couple things Denise mentioned. We have some things that we are going to offer up to you guys in terms of gifts from corecubed. And I wanted to just mention that I do have a template that you guys might be able to utilize. So this template lays this plan out, and this is what it looks like when it's done right. A good sales plan has a profile, an agency profile, shows where you are and the plan. It helps you to establish some goals, like what goals do I want to do? I want to grow 30%. I need to hire, in order to grow 30%, I need to hire 20 more caregivers that don't turn over. In order for me to, so that's what you're doing. You're growing the goal, building the goals. Then you're going to build some strategic initiatives behind each goal. How am I going to get there? In order to grow my business by this amount, I probably need to invest more in this piece of marketing, or I need to put another salesperson in this community. Those are the strategic tactics you're going to be building in the plan. And then you're going to be assigning different action items to those tactics. And in there, people in your organization, hopefully you've communicated all of this to them, that they understand what the plan is for the organization to grow. They have buy-in and they have assignments to help you get there. You're going to be inspecting your results, like I mentioned earlier, about once a month, and then at least quarterly you're going to evaluate the results and maybe take additional actions to tweak it. This is very important. Have a written sales and marketing plan. So a little while ago, I also mentioned this, and if you end up getting the template we have, it's organized in this way: sales, marketing, and operations. When you have goals, you have to think about what tactics you want to utilize in your sales area, what tactics do you want to utilize in your marketing area, and operations. What I mean by that is, if you want to grow 30%, as I mentioned in my example, in order to do that, you have to have more caregivers. So you have to calculate how many more caregivers do I need to make sure I have on board. And it may require you to, from an operational standpoint, maybe start to develop some different skill sets within your branch team so that they know how to recruit and successfully recruit more employees. So from an operation standpoint, that's what I mean. You may have to create some tactics within there to achieve your growth goals that are related to your model, how you operate your model of care. And finally, just one other thing I wanted to, kind of tie back to this idea of where you are in the segment, and give you a little bit of my opinion on where you need to be heavily focused when you're talking about sales, marketing, operations, and the investment and such. We know that as we grow, we may be able to invest more in our business. But when we're new and we're launching, the heaviest part of our sales plan and our investment probably should be around marketing and making sure that our brand is correct, making sure that we have a good solid brand and we're communicating it well, that our collaterals are good and quality, that our website's quality, that our, the areas that we focus on in terms of getting people to know who we are in our new business is invested in heavily in our first plan. As we move into more of a growth mode, we're around 1,000, 1,200 hours, and we're looking to continue to grow. I see most agencies start to begin to add a salesperson in addition. So you're going to still have a heavy investment in keeping up your marketing, and even maybe investing a little more in marketing to give collaterals that's going to work well with your salesperson and what they're doing, and tied back to your differentiators. So in this growth mode, you are going to be maybe more heavily invested in sales kinds of goals and such in your sales plan. When we move into maturity and renewal phases, these are going to be heavy around operations, really, and how we strategically build our model. So for example, we may start off in our launch phase with an owner and a scheduler. We add a salesperson and growth. Then when we get to maturity, we have to start thinking about who else we need to add. And it really revolves around, am I maintaining the right quality? Do I need to add different programs? And as we advance into these stages, our sales plan should be heavy around the operations piece. So that's the information I have to share with you about the sales plan. I know it's kind of a quick discussion of the sales plan, but very, very important. And I'm going to move over here now to Marissa about online presence.
Thanks, Shelley. Looking at these statistics, it becomes pretty plain that the internet is going to be a very important marketing platform for your agency. That's why we have create a strong online presence up there. Even if people are hearing about your agency through word of mouth, as I hear a lot of people, they say, oh, we do word of mouth marketing. That's, we haven't done any official marketing. But even if they're hearing about you word of mouth, they're still going to check out where you are online. They're checking out your reviews online. They're looking at your agency's personality on social media. And they're judging the quality of the care you provide by the quality of your website. Think about the last time you needed just about any service, maybe a new doctor, a new plumber, or a new roof. Did you do any sort of digital sleuthing before deciding who you were going to use for that service? I was just the other day telling my daughter about how I got my first tattoo, and it was in the 1980s, and the place that I went was really sketchy. And she said, Mom, why didn't you check out their Google reviews first? And I was like, well, honey, there was no Google back then. So people really take it for granted that they have this service. They can check out how you're doing online. So it's very important to pay attention to that. Even caregivers nowadays, they're going to have their pick of jobs because they're in such demand right now. They're going to be doing that digital sleuthing of your agency before they decide to apply as well.
Okay, I'm stuck on your first tattoo. All right, this is Amy again, and we're going to talk about online presence. And like Shelley talked about with a strategic plan and sales, your online presence strategy needs to be a long-term strategy that keeps the big picture in mind. Many times we experience home care agency owners wanting to just, get it done and not putting the amount of quality effort into it that it really needs, or just trying one strategy and then moving on to the next very quickly instead of giving it, the time that it needs to produce results for them. So an online presence needs to include a professional looking website. Your website should be mobile responsive, which means that the site adapts to the device that it's being viewed on. An ongoing SEO for maximized site visibility. Search engine optimization refers to working continuously on the quality of your site to make sure that search engines are showing it when people are searching for care. A great user experience and viewer engagement with clear calls to action. When we talk about clear calls to action, What we mean is that the site is designed and the messages are designed to move the visitor through the site so that the end result is that they call your agency or they submit a contact form. And there's ways you can do this with both the design elements as well as the messages that you're putting on the site. Social media presence, Facebook is extremely important. It is the target demographic. And so being present there and sharing information that's helpful to people who are caregivers themselves and are, coping with how to provide good care to a family member is really important. And then claiming and maximizing your online listings is very important. Things like caring.com, being listed there, having a Google My Business profile and a Yelp listing, all very important to your online presence. Online reviews, as we talked about, you really need to ask for reviews. You should be asking your clients, your caregivers, your referral sources to provide reviews of your agency and also responding to negative reviews. Many people, just want to hide when a negative review comes in. It looks worse if you don't respond to that negative review, so you want to offer some sort of response to that. We kind of covered this slide a little bit earlier, so let's move to the next one. Okay, and we talked about a mobile responsive site. A reliable hosting service is also really important. A very good hosting service can improve the speed of your site, which in turn improves your search engine optimization. And having backups of the site is important because if your site was ever compromised, if there was ever any malware put on it, you would have a clean copy to roll back to and put up. Well-written content that's been proofread. So let's look at that sentence again. The first part of it is well-written content, and that goes back to really studying why did I do this? What are my brand messages? I want to include everything that is important about my company up front. And when you write your web copy or have someone write web copy for you, you want to make sure that it's all grammatically correct, that it's been proofread, that it makes sense. If you can't write well, if there are misspellings and poor grammar in your marketing materials, customers will assume that you're not professional and that you also can't do other things well, like provide care to people. So think about how all of that looks on the front end. They're going to make judgments about your ability to provide care based on what your frontline marketing, like your website, is doing for you. We run into new companies that kind of go the DIY route when creating a website. If budget is an issue, it is a way to go, but be aware that it can inhibit your search engine optimization. It's better we always recommend using WordPress as your platform. And if you can avoid it, not going the DIY route. And we talked about clear calls to action. Again, this just means that your site is written and designed in a way that helps visitors move through the information to get to a point where they call you or submit a contact form. That's the end goal. Keep them moving in that direction by providing them with everything that you think that they were looking for in that journey. And those are your differentiators that we talked about earlier.
Now, Amy talked about the basics that you need with your online presence. And I know that not everybody, when you're first starting out, you may not have the funds to do all of the ideal things, but I did want to talk about them because this is definitely something that at some stage of your growth, you're definitely going to want to consider. A website that performs fast on both desktop and mobile. That kind of goes back to what Amy was saying about the DIY approach. If you're using a bad template or a template that has old code in it or something like that, it may not view well on a mobile device, or it may perform very slowly. So that is something that you definitely, the faster your website is, the better it looks on mobile, the more people Google's going to send to your website. A professional brand articulation that is through all of your web copy. Amy talked a little bit earlier about what a brand articulation is. I know perhaps for some of you, you're looking at that going, what in the world is brand articulation? But it's that messaging of, you know, how are you different than other people? What is it that is important, or what makes your agency your agency? Having that written professionally through all of your website is going to help differentiate you. And SEO keywords. SEO is search engine optimization. And if you don't know what that is, basically anytime you do a web search on Google or Bing and you see the list of everything that doesn't have the little word ad next to it, in order to get on that first page of search, you have to do lots of little things to your website in order to be on that first page of search. So that's what search engine optimization is. And keywords are part of that. It's basically what people are using to do those searches. Professional photographs are wonderful because your competitors aren't going to have those same photographs. I have run into clients who use stock images that their competitors are also using on their website, and that just sort of brings the quality down a little bit.
And keep in mind, if you are going to take professional photographs, to make sure that you tell your photographer the places where you'd like to be able to use those photographs, so that they can be cropped in the right way. So if you look at this picture on the bottom right of the screen, this is a screen grab of a client's website. That's an actual client and caregiver, and that photo is cropped very nicely for use on a website. And so you want to make sure that you tell your photographer, I'm going to be using these on website pages, maybe in brochures, so that they know you're going to need different vertical and horizontal formats with space around the subjects, so that they'll work when looking at the pictures on different devices.
Definitely. Develop content for your website. A lot of times people are finding websites not because of your About Us page or your services page. They're typing in a care question. And if you have answers to that care question on your website, that's how they may find you. So that's why educational content on your website is important. Professionally managed SEO and PPC. SEO, there are some things with SEO that you can do on your own, like adding blogs to your website regularly is going to positively affect your SEO. But in the end, there's a lot of things with SEO that you're just going to have to work with a professional on. PPC stands for pay per click, and that is Google Ads. So anytime you do a search online and you see those listings that say ad next to it, those are Google PPC ads. And use reputation management services to get some online reviews. Amy said you have to ask, and absolutely you have to ask, and more than once, a lot of times. And automating some of that process through reputation management services is going to make your life a lot easier.
Okay, so so these are really very quick and high-level discussions of these areas that we feel here at corecubed that are mission critical to cracking the code and helping you grow your agency. And we know that it's a lot of information that we just provided to you, and these topics can really, we could have probably done an hour on each one of them alone. But whether or not you're just starting out or you're an established agency, whatever phase you're in your segmentation of your business, you really have to have a good strategy around differentiation and who you are, and making sure that that is a compelling compelling message, and then having a solid sales plan that's written, that has goals and tactics associated with achieving your plan, and then having a solid online presence that's quality. And as you heard from Marissa and Amy in the last 2 slides, I have a lot of elements to think about in terms of making sure your online presence is where it needs to be. Back in the 1990s, when I first started in home care, we did not have the internet, and we relied heavily on the yellow pages. And our yellow page, that's why most agencies back then started with an A. Their name started with an A, so they could be first in the phone book. And if you ever went a year without having a good ad in the yellow pages, your business tanked that year. So fortunately, things have changed, and we now have online presence, which is a really nice, wonderful thing. So we appreciate you guys listening to our Crack the Code presentation today. And you know, professional partners like ourselves here at corecubed are really great in helping you guys to maybe come up with a strategy around all of these things that help you crack the code. So we appreciate you listening, and thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to move into Q&A now. And we did get quite a few questions. And the very first question, the most popular question that we get in our webinars is, will they get a copy of the slides? The answer is yes. Tomorrow morning, all attendees will receive a copy of the slides as well as the recording, so you can revisit and share it with other colleagues on your team. And we have an archive for the Digital Marketing Academy, so that if you lose the email next week, you can go back to our industry blog, and then there will be the copy of the slides and the recording, as well as a related companion blog post. So thank you for that question. And then we also got a question where they would like a corecubed expert to please restate during the launch phase, the 2 primary individuals should be the scheduler and who's the second?
I said the owner, or I meant the owner and the scheduler. Usually it's 2 people to start, and it's the owner who does serve as starting the agency and selling for the agency and making all the decisions, of course. And then typically I see new agencies hire a scheduler to be part of that team with them.
Great, thank you. Okay, then we also have a question. It says, please discuss representative management services. I think they mean reputation management services. What companies have that service?
corecubed offers that service through our RISE program, and there are a few others out there that are similar. It basically allows you to a couple of things. You can upload a list of email addresses to it and have template emails set that then are automated to request reviews from people, and a very easy way for them to then push that review to Google or Yahoo or one of the other online review pages for you. It also gives you a way to monitor when people are leaving you reviews on certain review sites, so that if you do get a negative review, you are emailed immediately and can respond quickly.
That's great. And then I would just add, at caring.com, for home care agencies that are partnered with us, we have a whole suite of online reputation management support focused on our website and the reviews we have there. And so I can follow up with you afterward and provide more information about it. In June, we went a deep dive into reputation management as well, and that is in the Digital Marketing Academy archive that will circulate afterward as well. So thank you for that question. And then Marissa, we got another question for you. How would you recommend asking clients or former clients to give you a 5-star review online?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but the best way is to capture them while you have them with you. It may be while you're meeting with the clients and they're saying, oh, Susie Q, the caregiver, is doing such a great job. Well, if you have your tablet with you right there, have those links to your online review sites ready, so you can just say, hey, would you mind typing that in right now? And same with referral sources. When you're visiting, you know, they're talking great about your service. Hey, would you mind, you know, can I send you the link that sort of thing. If you have an e-newsletter, including links to your Google reviews in your newsletter that goes out, any time you communicate with a client is a way to capture them for that request.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions at this time, but if anyone has any questions, they think of it afterward. It's not too late. We're going to provide our contact information in just one moment. But in the meantime, Shelly's going to tell you about a special offer that corecubed has created just for you.
So we wanted to provide you guys some tools today that we thought would be really helpful that goes with our presentation. And so we do have, Market Home Care on the corecubed website, which we have a lot of products for new agencies to begin their agencies and a lot of helpful tools and training there. But on this bit.ly, if you follow this bit.ly link and you type in the code that's listed here, you can get 20% off of one of these 3 documents. We have either the strategic sales plan, which I talked about. There's a template, so you don't have to, you could just follow the template and it's a good guide. And then we have 2 documents that give you well-written responses you can use in the sales process. So when you're following up with inquiries or people that you've that are interested in your services and you're having maybe difficulty getting to connect with them, we have some email responses we can send that are well crafted and written and have good grammar and you can utilize. And then we have the last document there that is a very similar document, and it has specific responses to folks that have maybe different requests around that they're asking for, and it helps to give you some word tracks and scripting to utilize in your business that are professionally done.
That's great, and I'm going to be including this in the follow-up emails, so that will be coming to your inbox soon. Okay, I hope you appreciated the tips that corecubed shared with you today. I thought it was an excellent presentation. I want to thank our corecubed experts for taking the time to share this expertise with you. If you'd like to talk with them further, we've included their direct contact information here. And we'll also ask you in the post-session survey if you'd like us to pass along your contact information to them so that you can have further discussion in the ways they can help your agency with its website and online marketing. And I hope you will take advantage and say yes to that opt-in or jot down their information right here. And if you would like to contact caring.com, this is my telephone number and email. I definitely welcome your feedback and suggestions. And also, you can send me ideas for other webinars you'd like to see us cover, topics that you're interested in. We hope you found the information helpful. We truly value your feedback. Please do take the post-webinar survey and give your ratings of how we did. Before we say goodbye, corecubed team, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Can't think of anything, but thank you everyone so much for spending time with us this afternoon.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.